introduce Dr. Jessica Tartaro. She's been immersed in exploring human sexuality, spirituality, emotionality for nearly 20 years. She's a Fulbright scholar and world traveler, and in 2013 returned here to her family in Dallas after 16 years away to start a private intimacy coaching practice, teach dance, and share orgasm with the DFW complex. Dr. Tartaro specializes in helping couples get their intimacy back on track. In her spare time, she dances avidly, practices yoga daily, and on particularly windy nights has been known to break into local football stadiums and admire the Dallas sky. I'm proud to introduce Dr. Jessica Tartaro.
Okay, friends, welcome. If you're here to talk about sexuality at the Holistic Festival of Life, then you are brave friends and you are in the right place. Joshua, could you close those doors? We'll get a little sound container so we can hear one another. And then Edita, could I borrow you? Would you be able to come up here for a moment? So quick question, would you come up here? Yeah. So it feels like we're close enough. I'm just going to give you this. Thank you so much. It's good to have friends in the room. Give them your cough drops when you're done. Okay. We know they're a good friend when. Okay. So could I get the people who are kind of in the back or off to the side, would you lean in just a little bit? So what I'm asking you to do, if you're willing, is to get up and move a little bit towards the front of the room, towards me, or towards this center aisle. This is just so that I can connect with you more. And then when we get to the part of the talk where we're doing some exercises together, you don't actually have to move your chairs unless you want to. I'm not going to stop you. But more so that we can actually just pull in together, and then we can do a lot more in the room for the next hour. It's an invitation, not a demand, so please stay as you're comfortable. But you'll understand in a moment. Yeah, come on in. Welcome, welcome. All right, for how many is this your first Holistic Festival of Life? Yeah? Awesome, we got some newcomers in the room. Well, I spoke at the very first one in July. People kept saying, I saw you last year. And I was like, yeah, 6 months ago. But it did feel like a year ago that we started this festival. I said then, and I'll say again now because it's so poignant for me. But as you heard in my intro, I spent almost 20 years traveling the world, living overseas in London, living in San Francisco, studying and training in Austin. But I actually started my life in Plano, Texas, at Parker and Alma, where I grew up in Fox and Jacob's houses on that east side of Plano in that development. I went to school at St. Mark's Catholic School. It was one of the first grade classes. So in the early 80s, my family was here. We moved here in the late 70s, and this was my home, the place I ran away from, and the place that very recently I came back to. So it is very, very special to be speaking to you here, miles away from where my story started. So, I work as an orgasmic intimacy coach, and today I'm talking to you about how to re-spark your flame when the fires have gone cold. Quick show of hands. I'm in a relationship currently. Just want to know in the room, I'm in a relationship currently. Okay, cool. I am looking for a relationship, kind of in an active way. Yeah, I'd like to manifest a relationship. Cool, and everyone else is somewhere in the middle. Good to know. This talk is for you, as in all of you. Any phase of relationship you are in. I hope to offer you some stories to learn from, a few tools, and then at the end, some exercises that you'll be invited to do with each other. It's talking exercises to give you a chance to play these or apply these principles. So this is what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you a couple stories because I feel it's only fair if you're going to take in some of the things I have to offer that you know who you're hearing from. So I'm going to tell you a personal story. And then I'm going to talk to you about the 4 principles of re-sparking your flame. Kind of break it down for you. And then we're going to play 2 games, hopefully we'll have time, where you'll get to apply some of these principles with a partner to your left or right, somewhere in the room if you desire. Then at the very end, I have an offer for you. It's really my thank you for you coming to the talk. That should take us close to 2 o'clock, and then my friend Daniel is speaking after me. staff though, so if you could all pay attention. So Debbie here in the back of the room, quick wave. We don't do these things alone, it takes a village. So Debbie is very much grounding and helping to support me here, and you can talk with her or me afterward for questions. Okay. So a little bit about how it came to be that I am speaking to you about resparking your flame, about relationships, about intimacy. I was joking with a girlfriend this week. We went for dinner at that great Indian food restaurant in Addison. We're sitting and we were talking about her relationship life, and someone just asked her on a date. She's like, I don't know. Should I go? I don't like them. I've had 2 kids and I'm a single mom, and I don't know really what I want. And I was sharing some thoughts, and she goes, you don't ever stop thinking about this stuff, do you? And I was like, no, I don't. But intimacy work is really not just a professional interest. Of course, that's the nature of intimacy. We're always in relationship, whether it's with our spouse or our kids, and certainly with ourselves. So this work is really pervasive, and for me, I do take it to heart. I have done deep training, and I am constantly in practice, which leads me to my first story. So when I moved back to Dallas, and it was January of 2014, I'd been living in San Francisco, I'd been living in community, and I'd been doing very deep and immersive intimacy training. But the moment came where I said, my dad is older, my nieces are young, and it's time to circle back around and come home. So I checked my bags, and I landed in Richardson, Texas, and I didn't know anyone, and I was living in my sister's place, and there was a dog, and there was a pink pillow in that little room that I was sleeping in. I didn't have friends. I went to the gym a bunch, and I slept. So I was like, well, I'm going to start my life over, and eventually I started my practice. But I didn't know anyone, and that was kind of the big thing, is how do I meet people like me? Because when I grew up in the Plano, DFW area in the 80s and then early 90s, I felt like, God, I'm such a fish out of water, kind of weird. I dress a little bit different. I like to go to thrift stores, and I had my girlfriends and boyfriends who dressed like me, but I didn't quite feel like I fit into the Dallas thing. The Dallas thing, like I learned how to put on makeup like a couple years ago. It was one of those, So I never felt very Dallas, which is in part why I left. But I was back and I was going to make the best of it, and I love to dance. So some of you know this. As an intimacy coach, I also teach dance. Why? Well, I'd love to do it, but also because if we can get these principles of connection in our bodies, we can really get them. So I do use dance as a tool for my teaching. So one of the first things I did was look up dance in DFW. Some of you may know about the form ecstatic dance. It started in Hawaii, you've got some nods in the front of the room, and it's in many major cities in the country, and it's also in Dallas. It's a form of dance where we move however we wish. It's a conscious dance practice. It's very freeing, and it's been part of my dance practice for several years. So I went, oh my God, there's an ecstatic dance in Dallas, I'm going. So that was February. I've been here about a month, and I met the people at my sister's gym. So I was pretty hungry for friends. So I went to the dance, and it was like my people, the people who hug for like 5 minutes and breathe deeply in your ear, and don't need to know you to sort of like roll over you, and suddenly you're smelling like them very quickly, and like those are my people. And I was like, yeah, my people. I'm not so much a fish out of water. They're not fishes in the pond. And there was this guy there, and he was there with his brother, so I didn't get too much of his attention. But they were on the dance floor, and I kind of was like, okay, you're gonna be my friend. You walk into a room, you're like, you're gonna be my friend. I'm going to talk to you, I have something in common with you, how you eye a room. So I saw this guy, and I was like, I think he's going to be my friend. So I went up to him afterward, and I said, oh, where are you from? And he said, oh, I moved here from the Bay. I said, I moved here from the Bay. He said, I moved here from Santa Cruz. I said, I have friends in Santa Cruz. Well, it turns out we had a friend in common, and I was like, you'll do. And so I was so excited. I said, oh, okay, well, let's exchange numbers, and when we get together, we can do a massage trade, because that's what he's going to say. It's like, oh, let's do a massage trade. I'm just like, I need touch, you need touch, and like, you speak my language. I think, you get that. So 2 days later, he called me back, which was really nice. It was a Monday. And I took a train to Dallas. His family was in Dallas. He picked me up, and I was like, yeah, I think we're going to be buddies. We just, people you hit it off with, kind of feel like we speak the same language. So we hung out, and we went to his family's place, and we were doing the massage trade, and I was kind of like, I like you, I want to
get a little closer to you. He was like, I don't know, I don't like having sex these days. And that was just where he was, you know, and I was like, that's cool, and I'm not gonna have sex with you until you're a clear yes. Well, I've just come out of my intimacy training program, and I wanted some attention and affection, and I wanted to have sex with him, and I felt good, and he felt good. But I was also clear that he needed to be a full yes, and he was like, well, yes. So we had sex, and we woke up the next morning, and I was like, it wasn't very good. It just really wasn't. It was like, you know, it was friendly, but it was kind of lukewarm, and I was like, no problem. We're just gonna be friends, and that's great by me. So we stayed in touch. This was now, let's see what I say, February of 2014. So months passed, and he went traveling. He traveled Central America, but he always stayed in the back of my mind. And I was like, that guy who just, I don't know, I just felt so familiar with him. He came back into town that summer, and I said, you know, I've grown a community here now. I started doing some organizing with the dance community, and my practice was up and going. And I said, I'm glad you're back. I had a friend who I thought he'd be a good fit for, you know, we play matchmaker. So I said, well, you know what, why don't you, let's go to yoga, let's hang out, I'll make you breakfast, you know, and we were just buddies. But I started feeling more attached to him. And I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to give him over to my friend, because I kind of like him. And something happened where we just started falling for each other. But I was like, I'm not gonna have sex with him. It was so bad that first time, you know, I'm just like, oh, I'm a hard no, you know, it's like, if it's good, it's worth it. If not, I'd rather not. But lo and behold, we had sex again, and actually he wanted to have sex, and I was like, I don't think so. Like, no. I mean, really? Okay. But what had happened was that we became friends. We knew each other. He knew me. He trusted me. We created an intimacy together. And suddenly it was like, oh my God, this person is actually truly my friend. Like, I felt it from the beginning. Really, my whole body is opening to you. There was this resonance that was happening. And it really crept up on me. Because I didn't come back to Dallas to find the love of my life or get married necessarily. I came back to really be connected to my family and start my business and kind of be an independent woman and be able to, you know, have a lover here and a lover there, which at the time was just the way I was doing my life. Was to have freedom around my sex life and my love life and not really have too much kind of commitment or attachment. But this thing, it just creeps up on you, you know, you don't always plan for it. So we fell in love, and the last year and a half has been a practice of figuring out how all of that fits within both of our lives. So my boyfriend, of which I speak, is actually in the back of the room, and you can say hi to him on your way out. But he agreed. I told him, I said, I'm going to tell the story about you. We moved in together 3 weeks ago. So I qualify all of the things I'm about to tell you with the story of my own journey and how it is that we became a monogamous couple and that we've been traveling together and training together. So we just got back from 3 weeks in Hawaii where we did some very intensive sexuality training, which you'll hear about in my talk. But we've done a lot of work as a couple because this is, as far as I'm concerned, the most important work we'll do. It's so often the case that we have all of these sort of doors that are locked. I had a woman come by my booth earlier today, and she said, I'm trying so hard to cry today. And she just looked at me and I said, how are you? And she started crying. And I said, you know, sometimes it just takes the attention of another to unlock those doors. Well, I think that's exponentially true when we get close to someone, which is why I really am a deep student of intimacy. Because when that vulnerability happens, and vulnerability is usually not within our direct control, right? I feel vulnerable. And you can layer against that, you can defend against it. But the vulnerability has this sort of life of its own, right? You care about someone. You want them. Has anyone ever done that thing where you like someone so you avoid them? You know, quick show of hands. I like you so much, I will never let you see me. When you come around the corner, I will run in the opposite direction. And then you'll definitely know how much I want you. Right? Okay, so we brace against that feeling that has us feel out of control. So intimacy does that for us. It unlocks those things undone. I went through a lot of therapy in graduate school, and I've worked with a ton of individuals. In fact, that was the primary basis of my training, was doing one-on-one counseling. But what I found was that if you can find the right person to be on this journey with, and you can look in their eyes and say, my heart opens when I'm with you. As I feel with my partner, I feel more at home as a person when I'm with you. And sometimes we can access those parts of ourselves that need the deepest healing we can't actually find on our own. And so that's why I really chose in this path, because I think that we get so much of what we're looking for on all healing paths through relationship. Okay. So that's a bit of my personal story. So I want to talk to you about some of the things I've learned, both personally and professionally, about what makes it be that we can have the kind of relationship we want, whatever that looks like for you. And for most people, you want to have it be what? Exciting, playful, fun, passionate. Don's always willing to speak up. What are we looking for in a relationship? We want relationships that are what? Deep. Call it out. Peaceful. Sure, yeah. You want to have it be that it's calm and there's tranquility. Mm-hmm. Connected. Absolutely. Such a key word over here. Definitely fun. Intentional. Is that what I heard? Colorful. Oh, I like that. Definitely. Good. Say it loud. Authentic. Gorgeous. I want all of these things too. Say. Communication. Dear God, please let us be clear communicators. Everything will flow from that. Exactly. Okay. So we all want this sort of thing that's going to fit us, that's going to feed us, that's going to make it be that every other part of our lives feels good because this thing at the core makes us feel so alive and sexy and playful and loved and colorful and infused, right? The right relationship can really inspire and empower us. Okay, so what makes it be that we can have this kind of relationship? So I'm going to give you some general themes. I want you to apply them how they'll fit for you, but 4 themes that I've found that just repeat over and over and over, right? I call them universal. So it goes like this. So the first one, I bet this won't be news to the people in this room. The first one is balancing the gender divide. Anyone think there's a gender divide? Maybe there's different ways of doing things. Maybe my woman and me sometimes don't see eye to eye. I see some nods, especially if people are sitting close together. Yeah. Well, I find that too. And I've not only found that in my personal life, I've definitely found that, of course, with my clients. So it's like we come at the endeavor of connection, speaking different languages. And thank God we do, because that's the polarity of connection, is that I had a client say the other day when he was saying what he's looking for, I want to attract the other half of what I'm not. Something like that, with all these extra words. But basically, like, I'm looking for this person that will have me understand who I am better by contrast. We'd be so bored if we attracted the same person, right? So that polarity is a great thing. But if we're not careful, that polarity it's like a heat in that magnetism, but that heat can burn us if we don't know how to channel it, if we don't know how to use it to forge real understanding. Okay, so here's the theme that I see that kind of cross-cuts most gender conflicts, right? Anyone ever have gender conflicts? Maybe it's just me. I had a gender conflict this morning. We'll call it gender conflict. Yeah, a little bit like that. Okay. So I'm going to just paint a scenario. So she wants something, and it's very apparent to her exactly what she wants, exactly how she wants it. But he doesn't know what she wants. And he doesn't give it to her. And he really doesn't give it to her. Like, he misses the boat, he kind of misses the shore, maybe he misses the time zone, and he really misses it. So in that space, she gets what? Pissed off, resentful, disengaged, but like mad. And then he's left feeling like, what'd I do? What happened? I want to make you happy, but I don't know how to do it. And in that feeling of failure, not being able to do the thing that clearly she wanted, he also disengages. If I'm not going to win, why would I play? Okay. Oh my God, it happens over and over. So they're both right. She wants something, she's not getting it. Certainly we come to a relationship to get needs met. He's right too. I'm so willing, but I don't know what to do. I love you. I think I did the right thing, but I don't know what you wanted. So I see this happen over and over in sessions, and the way it looks when I see it is that she's just angry. And she's telling him all the things he's done that haven't worked for her. And this woman said to me yesterday, I'm done. I'm out. I just, what do you need? I just need space. Okay, what do you want that to look like? Just take me to my car. I just need to go home. I just need to be without you. Okay. And the guy's like, what did I do? You know, like you just fall in love with men who are just like, help me with my woman. Okay. So the thing that I offer here and very much work on myself is there's a crucial window, women, where we have the chance to set men up to win with us, up to succeed, up to give us exactly the thing we want. But in order that we get the thing that we want, two things must happen. One, we have to know what we want and be able to articulate it in a language that makes sense to someone else. Two, we have to ask for it. It seems so simple. It's actually simple, but it's not easy. Okay, so let me elaborate just a little bit. So I see a couple who come into my office once a week, and he is very verbal, very strong personality. And she's a strong lady, but she tends to be a little less verbal. She's kind of quiet. And he'll say and ask things, and she'll get overwhelmed pretty easily. Like she's like, I don't know, I don't have my words. And then he puts more pressure on her, she withdraws, and then she lashes out. So what we worked on this week was her being able to figure out what she needs in that moment. He's just trying harder because she doesn't seem pleased. But he's doing more of the thing that's not working for her because she's not stopping him to say, babe, when you keep asking me, I get overwhelmed. And what I need in this moment is a couple minutes break for me to collect my thoughts, because I don't think as fast as you. And then in 5 minutes, I'll come back and let you know what I need. So she was able to pause, find out what she needed, discover it was even like on the menu, and then tell him. And he was like, oh, you got it. You can have it. And then they came up with a plan for going through the week in that fashion. So the principle I'm wanting to convey, again, simple, not easy, is that in order for us to, here's about half the equation, in order for us as women to be able to get what we want, we have to ask for it. Things like, I want you to carry the bags to the car. And you didn't read my mind, and I ended up carrying most of the bags. But that's not your fault. Why? Because I didn't ask for it. So then I said to him this morning, I'm mad that I didn't ask you to carry more of the bags, which was like halfway towards taking responsibility. I teach not what I'm a master at, but what I'm practicing. But there's this space where we punish them when we don't ask for it. And this may or may not apply to you, so take what it does. But often it's the case, and I hear it so much, I thought this needs to come up. Now, anyone feel like, I know exactly what I want, no problem there, yeah, I'm good. Guy in front, okay, guy in the side. Any women, I know exactly what I want, no problem there. Okay, good, exactly. Okay. I have this girlfriend, and she's just one of my best friends. And she'll sit, and she'll get red in the face, and she'll cry, and she'll talk about how she's not getting it from the guy, getting what she wants from this guy that she's seeing. And I'll say, babe, what is it that you want? And she'll then proceed with, so she's in this limbo, the best thing I can do for her sake. He stands no chance unless you can tell him the things you want. Well, this is the work of intimacy training. It's rare that I think that we know exactly how to identify the things we want without a little guidance. For most people, this is true for me, for most people, being able to ask for what we want accesses some very tender, vulnerable places that may have been wounded at some point when we either weren't supported to ask what we wanted or didn't get what we wanted. So especially in a moment of vulnerability, being able to ask for it means that we draw upon a deep, deep well of feeling. I don't know about you, but when I feel vulnerable and when it's time to ask for what I want, and I'm mad or sad or don't feel supported, it's like it feels out of reach. I say this not because I think it's easy, but because this is the work of actually training ourselves, is to stay conscious, even when we feel confronted and vulnerable, so that we can find our words and say it in a way that he can actually offer it. So men, your work on this side of the equation is also so important. For most men, it looks something like being able to actually have a lot of patience and appreciation for the task of your woman doing her part of the work. So it's like recognizing that there is actually a way where we can set each other up to succeed, and to remember on both parts to say when we're getting what we want with appreciation, so that in spaces where we need to ask for something we're not getting, there's actually openness. So there's more to say on that one, but the basic number one of these four, number one that I want you to walk away with is ask for what you want, and you're more likely to get it. P.S. Hire an intimacy coach to help you answer that question. Okay. It's not the easiest one in the world. I went through a couple years of training to be able to, get a few words out in terms of what I want. Because what you want is not just like, oh, I want like dark chocolate. It's nice to know your preferences, but like, what do I really want? We have all these other voices in here that say like, oh, you should look a certain way. DFW, I should look like the women in a magazine, or I should be as successful as my brother, or I should go to really expensive schools and get these degrees. But it's like, what does this being want? What does this system want? This unique spirit? What does these unique life experiences and tools and skills and quirks and limitations and like this spirit? What does this spirit want? So it's actually like a thing that when you touch it makes you quiver. What we want is an extraordinarily penetrating question. It's not a throwaway question. It's the center of this entire work of intimacy. Because if you get it, if you can have that intimacy with yourself and be able to answer the question, then you can actually open the way for the kind of connection that you want. Okay. We're going to move into the next one. All right. I was going to ask a question, but we'll get to the interaction in a moment. Any questions? Oh, I should say that. Any questions or comments? Very attentive group, but kind of quiet. Please.
I had questions during your talk, and I also felt like I couldn't interrupt your talk. So there's a question I had. It says,
Thanks for getting current with me. I appreciate it. What's your name?
Mark.
Thanks, Mark. I like it. Just helping me feel where he is. That's good. That's an intimacy tool right there. Appreciate it.
I've had a little sick there.
I have feeling. Yeah. Well, so I'm glad you're here. So, what I said in the description for this talk is I'm going to teach you the single most important tool for resparking your flame. This is such a simple one, and I learned it in my yoga teacher training, but when applied, it's a game changer. So I took yoga teacher training in graduate school, mostly to keep myself sane. And my yoga teacher said, the single greatest resource we have in life is, any guess? This is a yoga teacher speaking. What do you say? Me? Yourself? Your arm just went like this, pointed towards your chest. Single greatest resource I have is what? Love. That's a nice one. Who said that? Yeah. Any other guesses? Mark? Good.
Design.
What did you say?
Breath.
Breath. That's nice. These are all variations. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, I like how you said that. Okay. These are all variations. Breath, desire, being in the moment, love, self. Okay. So another way of saying that is the single greatest resource we have available is our attention. Okay. In my estimation, non-judgmental attention is love. It's really what we're all hungry for. There's this way that when we're lonesome, when we want something, it can show up in our physical bodies like a hunger. It's like, I need to eat something, or I need to do something, or I need to scratch an itch, I've been in a workshop with friends, and this woman said, I just feel like this itch I can't scratch. It's like loving attention, like, please see me. We all have some version, or most people have some version of, hey, I didn't get enough of quality attention at a certain point. I had a woman tell me this morning that her husband was adopted, and they said, you're not ours. We don't love you the same way we love our other children. It's like, it's awful to hear. So there's a deficit in that system for a loving attention, like you as you are right and good. So in this space where we have the capacity to allocate our attention, what we're doing in an intimacy practice is just like a meditation practice. Anyone have a meditation practice? Seated meditation, any seated meditation practitioners in the room? Yeah, any yogis in the room? Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, here. Dancers? Fellow dancers? Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we love to dance. So all of these practices, as consciousness practices, have in common one thing, which is the intentional allocation of attention. What we put our attention on grows. It's just the case. So if you focus on the things that aren't working, like we have a tendency to say, like, you didn't take the trash out, or Holmes covers on your side of the bed, or you didn't call me back. You know, that's you didn't call me back, right? That's what we put our attention on grows. Well, so if we desire, we can intentionally put a different quality of attention on the things that we want to grow. So this is so simple, but there are a number of partnered practices that absolutely, positively are simply about paying attention to each other. It's not rocket science, but this is a reminder of something that you always have available. But how many people like to text? Come on. I'm a huge texter. I went to see the massage therapist and he was like, that's called, what's that, blueberry finger? Is that what that old application was? Blackberry, oh blueberry. Whatever. Same thing. Thank you for speaking my language. Desire over there. I'm missing the same language. Yeah, so he was like, you get that from texting a lot. And I was like, yep, I've got that. So we learn to actually fragment our attention, and that's not a bad thing. We need that. Most of our jobs require that we kind of put our attention in multiple places simultaneously. Anyone have kids in this room? Yeah, okay. You have to divide your attention. Duh, of course, not a bad thing. But we have the option, when it comes to creating intimacy, to pull all of that attention out from the TV and the phone and our computer, and maybe if the kids are asleep, to trust that we can come back into our connection with our partner, and to feel what it feels like to give that person non-judgmental attention. I don't need you to be anything for me. I don't need you to do anything for me. I don't know a man or a woman who couldn't benefit from that feeling of no pressure. Be how you are. There's so many practices that basically train you to apply this quality of attention. One of them is a partnered practice that I teach called orgasmic meditation. That would be a different talk, which I will give in a couple of weeks. See me at table 65 if you want more information. But another simple one is eye gazing. Anyone in this room ever just looked in your loved one's eyes for a timed period of time? Well, of course, in this room we've got a few of those. Okay. My God, are you willing to say what that's like, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, it's intense.
Definitely.
Brings down the floor, for sure.
Well, good. Okay. So it's like layers fall off, right? Oh my God. So I just hear over and over, and I'm so guilty of this myself, but we get into these spaces where we try to work it out by talking, like death to your orgasm. It's so bad. I've taken clients and I've said, you're on a processing fast. No joke. Like if the two of you process again, you're fired. Like you have a few options this week. You can make out, you can make food together, you can tell stories or walk the dogs. You cannot process. Because what happens is that we go into our connection at the same level at which the problem was created. We're just in there with our head and our ego. And we try to solve it with our head and our ego, we just get stuck. Like it's like stuck in this flypaper sort of scenario. So being able to eye gaze, as one example, really drops us to something core, something very visceral or real or present, right? I had a therapist who I worked with in graduate school who would say to me, well, your head can always time travel. Like right now you're sitting in this room, but some part of you might be thinking about, what am I doing afterward? Or when am I having lunch? or that thing this morning, or I need to do this tomorrow, right? Our head can be yesterday or tomorrow. But our physical bodies can only be here. My legs on the seat, my feet on the ground, right? My breath breathing in the air in the room. I can only be in this place. So our greatest chance at being able to be present as practitioners of consciousness practices, we realize the value of this. Our greatest, hope is to anchor in our bodies. Well, our bodies will tell us what's going on right here now. So these sort of practices that anchor us in our bodies actually put us in touch with our great intelligence, our great wisdom. That's why orgasmic meditation is an amazing practice, because it's a body anchoring practice. I'm going to name one more attention practice. So I was in Hawaii a couple weeks ago. I know it was so rough. It was so hard to come back from Hawaii to Dallas. I was just like, I'm moving. The air quality was so good there. But that's another story. So I love Dallas. It just was hard to come back. But I was there with my boyfriend, and we were doing this training that's actually from the Native American tradition. Really interesting. And I'll be co-producing an event with these teachers later next year. So please get on my newsletter for more information about that. But one of the exercises we did in their program was a very, very simple timed practice where we used feather-light touch over each other's bodies, head to toe. Clothed or not clothed. But however you or moderately clothed, just maybe with like your underwear or bathing suit. And it was not genital focused. Genitals are great, I'm a big fan. And to be able to give our full body attention to each other, where it was that there was such a relaxing moment, where I knew we had quality attention. We had a guide and she was talking us through this. It seems so simple, right? But it was like feather-light touch, and then a little bit deeper massage, and then it was maybe tapping, different quality of touch. Well, I got the CD, and it's a visualization or a guided meditation. But basically, quality attention to each other's bodies, your full physical body, and to schedule a day like that. Whether it's someone you've been partnered with for 35 years or someone that you're just getting to know, but you know that here we are, human beings, stumbling through our human experience, doing the best we can, so why not fill each other up? Fill each other up with that quality attention, and make sure that it doesn't have to lead to a makeout. Like, if you want to, that's great, but that it's really a complete act. Giving and receiving quality attention is the thing that fills us up. It makes it be that we are those generous, loving beings that can then easily access that spark. The last thing I'll say about that is, what do you think the relationship is between feeling pressure and feeling turned on? Any guesses? Inverse, excuse me, my language. I went to graduate school for a lot of years. People talk about inverse relationships. Exactly. Which is to say that when you feel pressure, right? I've got to be somewhere, I've got to do something, I've got to take care of the kids, I need to be this kind of support for my spouse, I need to look a certain way, cook, whatever it is. And those tapes have been running our whole lives. It's not just about the person we're dating. We can't really feel our sensational bodies. There's an expression in orgasmic meditation that says attention, not pressure. So it's when we can stay in connection, take the pressure part off of it, that we can actually free each other to get turned on. When we did that exercise in Hawaii, I was like, yes, my lights were lit up. I've just come from several pretty intense weeks of work, and my body was tired. I felt suddenly more alive than I felt in weeks. It's so simple. All right, we're halfway through. Yes, please. Yep. Beautiful. Yep. My colleagues in the room speaking. Yep, a different version of the same practice. It's so good. So good. So the third one is agreements. We talked about man-woman dynamics. We talked about paying attention. But this is really so vital to the success of any kind of relationship around what you want. There's a wonderful book called Sexual Agreements by the teacher I studied with in Hawaii. But the premise of the book says, or the premise of the whole notion, is that in order for you to feel safe in a relationship, in order for you to trust at all, to share your most vulnerable parts, my heart, my sex, my story, my family, my feelings, then we need to feel held. Well, if we have agreements, then we create a way such that if we expect something to happen, we can know that there's a high likelihood that it will happen. So, for example, I have an agreement that you're the only person I have sex with. I have an agreement that if you talk to your ex-girlfriend, you'll let me know. I have an agreement that we're going to cook together every Wednesday night and have a date night. We have an agreement that if we have an argument, we don't go to sleep angry. We set it aside, and we come back together in the morning. We have an agreement that if we break an agreement, that as soon as possible, we will create some time to meditate together and see our counselor, and so on. Who was I talking to? Oh yes, the same woman I saw for dinner this week, and she said, I would like it to be that he doesn't think that someone asked me out on a date, and I'd like it to be that he doesn't think I'm gonna, just get romantic with him. I kind of want to just get to know him. I said, okay, so what would it be if you called him and said, hey, my preference for this get-together is that we don't expect that there's going to be kissing at the end, or you'll let me call you afterward. So right now I'm kind of a transitional space. I just broke up with my children's father and so on, and I'd like to know if you'd be open just to really having a playful date and giving me some space to get back to you, something like that. And she goes, oh, so I could really just ask for that? So much of the time, my friends say to me like, oh, if only I could have this and this, if only he would do this and this. And I said, well, have you created a space for the two of you can agree on that? Oh, no, I haven't, So this idea of making agreements, and I do mean in a formal sense, like she recommends, the author, Amara Charles, the author of Sexual Agreements, she recommends that you write them down, that you write down your agreements, so that when you sort of get into that fuzzy space where you're like, what did we agree on? You got it in your journal, you got it, in that Word document, so that you're not in that sort of limbo. Having something to hold us and the volatility of connecting is vital. It's like rails, It's like it's something to hang on to when we're drowning, because vulnerability is like sometimes being in the ocean, you can't find the solid ground beneath you. So I can't recommend it enough. It does boil down to your word, desire, over here, but knowing what you want, and then being able to craft the relationship around that. But if you don't know what you want, you can also craft an agreement around it. The agreement is that we'll go slow enough that I can decide what I want. We'll check in regularly and have relationship agreement talks once a week until I can get more clear. You see? So you take this idea of the space that lives in here and the things that are yearning but not met, and then you design the relationship around that. It's called relationship by design, no accident. So making agreements, I can't recommend it enough. Again, it's good to have a guide or a coach or a book to give you examples of what's possible, right? That's why intimacy coaching is so cool. Because we end up in school, and we're taking our math classes and our science classes and history and so on, but no one ever says, and when you're feeling this way, this is how you communicate. It's like one person comes from this dysfunctional family and another from this dysfunctional family, and we all feel sexy and we make babies, and then we sort of wonder, why am I floundering? Why am I not happy? Okay. So there's a very specific set of tools, and in my mind, if I was winning, they'd be taught in junior high, maybe 5th grade, very basic communication tools. But right now they're not. So it does take being able to educate ourselves, finding a guide, finding a book, taking a class, and so on, so that we can actually really be nourished and make it be that our relationships support us. Right? They're not a site of warfare, but a site of nourishment. Okay, last one. Time check, please.
It's 1:50.
1:50. We're going to make it quick. Okay, so here's one that's a little edgier for me to share, because this is kind of a new phase in my practice and my repertoire. I learned in Hawaii and studied with the Kadoshka tradition. Are you familiar? Yeah, I said, okay. Okay. It's a beautiful tradition, and it's sort of quietly growing across the country. So in Kudoshka, there's a lot of work around the different sort of aspects or elements of our persona. Like, there might be the shy part of me, and the more adventurous part of me, and the sexy part of me, and the maybe wild part of me, right? We all have these parts. So what can happen when we feel sort of cast in a role, the same role we're always in, is that we only have a limited number of ways to express ourselves in that role, right? I'm always the what? The responsible one. We each have stories about that. I'm the mother. I'm the father. I'm the trusty boyfriend. I'm the employee. I'm the healer. All of these are beautiful roles. But if we're limited to the role we've always played, then we don't always have access to the more creative parts of ourselves. So this final principle is about play. Being able to have that flexibility so that in the moment where you're confronted, we actually can be creative. So this is also similar to this idea that when we process something to death, that we can't actually find the solution because we're still working at the level of thinking and ego and our intellect. But when we play, what happens to our thinking mind? Anyone? When you're really enjoying yourself, dancing or playing with your kids, what happens to your thoughts?
Freer.
Totally freer. Can you hear them as well? Yeah. Are you as influenced by them? You're in the moment. Yeah, so you said freer. That's how I feel too. When I'm dancing, it's just like, oh my God, I don't have to think about what I'm doing this week, or I don't have to think about like who I am, what my responsibilities are. Okay. So drama therapy draws upon this principle quite a lot, the idea being that when we can actually access other parts of us through play, through sort of dramatic play, that we actually, this is not from anything outside of ourselves, but just inside of ourselves, we suddenly have a whole new skill set because we've tried on a different aspect of our persona. In Kudoshka, this is called lovers' masks. Okay? Thinking about aspects of ourselves as if they're masks we wear, and not in a bad way, not in a hiding way, but just in a way that gives us access to more of us. Okay? So, in working with play, what we do there is, if I don't always have to be blank, then I can be blank. Okay, and we're going to do a quick exercise that sounds like that. If I don't always have to be, pick the role, whatever that main identifier is, the responsible one, maybe it's like that, or maybe it's the daughter, however that role is, that can be the main one you show up as. When we try on a different role, suddenly we have a whole new creative range of possibilities. So this is something that I invite people to do as part of your agreements. But if it feels within your range, to consider that if role playing is part of what you two want to work on, where it's like, oh, I want to inhabit the sexier side of me tonight, or I want to try on the more adventurous side of me. What they had us do in this workshop was actually bring costumes. And so we go to the evening's dance in the costume of a different lover's mask. And what my boyfriend and I found, because we participated in these exercises, is that places where we continually hit our wall, like we could just never quite get past that one place. But when we could come at it from a different persona, like I was playing the more sort of shy, domestic, surrendered one, and he was playing the more dominant one, which is a bit opposite of how we show up in life. That from that place, he really found his ability to ask for what he wanted, and I found my ability to love him in that space and surrender. And it was like we had a breakthrough. And I do a ton of therapy and have a lot of access to a lot of tools, but it took like putting on a different mask, and we could come to the solution that had yet been out of reach. So there is something about letting it be that you can take off the thing that always guides you and find the rest of you and see what resources she has or he has. All right. Who wants to do a quick exercise? If you're willing, quick exercise. One person's willing. Okay. Maybe I'll tell you the exercise and then you can decide. All right. So it's just going to be with one person, whoever's closest to you, so we'll be pairing up. If we need to work out partnerships, we can do that. So partner one will be the person with the shorter hair. Partner two, the person with the longer hair. Partner one will be the listener first. Partner two will begin the sentence with, if I don't always have to be blank, I would be blank. And if I could be blank, I would. And then you get to complete the sentence. If I don't always have to be, then I would be. And then I would blank. Okay? So you're getting the opportunity to, one, maybe identify a part of you that feels dominant. Two, just be playful. Like imagine, who would you be if you worked with this person? Like if I didn't always have to be the therapist, I might be the unruly child. And if I was the unruly child, I might stay up really late and go call lots of boys and eat lots of chocolate and never text anyone back. Okay. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Okay. So do you see how there's a part of me that needs to come be like, okay, it's coming, a little freedom. So that's an example. If I didn't always have to be fill in your blank, I could be blank, and then I would. You don't have to share this with anyone else but your partner. You can share to the degree that you desire. Just a chance to see what you discover. Each person will go for a minute, not very long, and then we'll debrief together and close. Any questions about this exercise? I'll remind you one more time. You willing to play? We have players in the room? Willing to play? That was the fourth principle. Okay. Find your partner. So turn your chairs. If you're one of these people on the side, please grab a partner. Let's make sure you're paired up. 1, 2, 1, 2. David and Will, perhaps. Okay, good. Once you have your partner, come to silence. Does anyone need a partner in the room? Mike, do you need a partner? Debbie, do you need a partner with Mike? Does anyone else need a partner? Maybe she does. So once you found your partner, person with the shorter hair, partner one, raise your hand. Person with shorter hair, figure that out between you two. Yep? Okay, good. So if you can hear me, come to silence. I'll try to make this simple for you. There you go. So partner one, raise your hand, person with shorter hair. You're listening first. So what you're going to do is be able to apply the principle we talked about earlier. So I'm going to have you come to silence just to start. Partner one is applying non-judgmental attention. You're just listening. Maybe you can close the door. I'll be done in just a moment. So non-judgmental attention. Partner two, if I wasn't always blank, I would be blank. I'm going to set a timer. Go ahead and face each other. Make a moment of eye contact. Give a partner one. And then when you're ready, begin. Last 20 seconds. Finish the sentence that you're on and bring that part to a close. Then you're going to change roles. Partner one, you will be the speaker. Partner two, you're the one placing loving attention on your speaker. 60 seconds, and begin. If I wasn't, I would be. Then I could. last 30 seconds. Begin to wrap up the sentence you are on, and then bring your conversation in further. For the people who are just coming in, we're just wrapping up. Okay. So, seems like we got some conversations underway. I assure you, you can keep talking afterward. I have a lovely speaker who's waiting to inhabit the room. So please bring your conversation to a close, and let's do just a quick debrief. Make sure you thank your partner, just honor them. Thank you for that learning, thank you for that connection. Yeah, they're like, okay. So anyone willing to share what that was like? You may have turned to a stranger, you may have turned to your husband or wife, but for those who participated, anyone willing to say what that was like? Over there.
So I actually had no idea what this was.
Yeah. Gorgeous, my God. So there's amazing power in putting attention and putting it to words. Sometimes it taps into parts of us we didn't even know were there. Wow, we've got some space to think about that, don't you? Thank you for your sharing. Let's get one or two more for those who participated. Any feedback you want to share? What was that like? Ladies in the back, I saw you two connected. Yeah. Gorgeous. What a bridge. There's so much universality to these things. Thank you for your courage to share with someone you didn't know before. Your friend. Okay. So that's really a very, very small taste of one of the many tools that are intimacy coaching tools. I want to thank you for coming to this talk, for sharing of your time and your energy, and especially your own intimate spaces, your experience. I want to thank you by offering, making an offer to you, which is, so I do work with individuals and couples, and right now I'm offering 4 free sessions to the first 4 people who speak to that lady right there. She's going to raise her hand one more time. So I have slots available in the next 2 weeks, and I really wanted to thank the participants of the Host Festival. So if you have the feeling that it might serve you to have a little individual attention, either you're in a couple or an individual, please see Debbie. Please sign up. She's going to take the first 4. The session is called Sparking Your Flame. Please see me at booth 65. I'd love to talk with you more. Dan Sunshine. Up next.